All right, let's dive into another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at this new study from Stanford Medicine, and it's a fascinating one. It's about fiber and cancer prevention.
Yeah, it's not just about staying regular anymore. This study, it was published in Nature Metabolism, really kind of changes how we think about the connection between diet and health, like at a really basic level.
We're looking at an article called Stanford Study Reveals Fiber's Hidden Anti-Cancer Superpowers. I gotta say, pretty intriguing title. So something like less than 10% of Americans actually eat enough fiber. I'm probably one of them. But if what this research says is true, then we all might need to, reconsider how we think about those high fiber foods.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This study is about way more than just adding some bulk to your diet, you know what I mean? It actually shows how fiber can switch your genes on or off. It's called epigenetics.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying the food we eat can, reprogram our genes?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. When we eat fiber, the bacteria in our gut, they break it down into these things called short-chain fatty acids. They're also called SCFAs for short. These SCFAs, the main ones, are called propionate and butyrate. They're the important ones here. They move all throughout the body and can interact with our DNA, and that affects which genes actually get used.
So it's not just about, keeping things moving in the digestive system. These SCFAs, it's like they're little messengers going everywhere in the body. And they could affect all kinds of things, from how cells grow to maybe even if we develop cancer, right?
Exactly. And you know what they found? These SCFAs can stop cancer cells from growing. One way they do this is by something called apoptosis. It's basically like programmed cell death. The SCFAs tell those bad cells to just self-destruct.
Wow. So our diet can actually give our bodies the weapons they need to fight cancer? But how does that actually work? What genes are we talking about here?
Well, they looked at genes that control a few things. How cells grow, how cells differentiate, and, like we said, apoptosis. Cell differentiation is how cells change to become specialized. These processes, they're all super important for stopping cancer. Imagine if we could use that.
It's pretty amazing to think something as simple as eating more fiber could have such a big effect on our health. But this is just one study, right? What's next?
Well, the lead author of the study, his name is Dr. Michael Snyder, he said something that I think sums it up well. We found a direct link between eating fiber and modulation of gene function that has anti-cancer effects, and we think this is likely a global mechanism because the short-chain fatty acids that result from fiber digestion can travel all over the body.
He said a global mechanism. So you're saying this research could be about way more than just preventing cancer.
Yeah, exactly. These SCFAs, they're not just hanging out in the gut. They're moving all over, possibly affecting all kinds of systems and organs. It could be important for heart health, brain function, the immune system, you name it.
That opens up a lot of possibilities. But before we go too far with that, let's get back to what this study found specifically.
Sure. One of the main things is that different types of fiber actually create different types of SCFAs. Like butyrate, which is really good at fighting cancer, it mostly comes from fiber in things like beans, lentils, and whole grains.
So it's not just about eating more fiber, eating different kinds of fiber too.
Yeah, exactly. Variety is important when it comes to those little guys in your gut, the microbiome. A diverse diet means a wider range of good SCFAs.
Got it. So diversity is key. What else was interesting about this study? Anything unexpected?
One thing that really stood out to me was they talked about personalizing things. Dr. Snyder, he mentioned, maybe in the future we could analyze someone's gut microbiome and then tell them exactly what kind of fiber and how much they need.
Wow, like a customized fiber prescription? That's pretty futuristic. But it really shows you how connected everything is, from the food we eat to the tiny organisms in our gut, all the way to our genes. But this study mostly focused on cancer, right? What about fiber's other benefits, like for the heart or diabetes?
That's where things get even more interesting. This study was about cancer, but there's more and more research showing fiber might help protect against all kinds of diseases. Like, there are studies showing that a high-fiber diet can lower cholesterol, and that's a big deal for heart disease. And it can help manage blood sugar, which is important if you have type 2 diabetes.
So fiber does a lot, huh? It's like a multi-tool for good health.
Yeah, you could say that. And we're still figuring out all the amazing things it can do.
Makes you wonder, what else can fiber do? Like, maybe it's good for the brain too, right?
There's some evidence for that, actually. Some research suggests that certain SCFAs, the ones that come from fiber, might protect the brain. That could mean a lower risk of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It seems like we're just starting to understand how important fiber is for our health.
I agree. This study has opened up a whole new area of research, and I'm really excited to see what they discover next.
It really feels like a whole new world of possibilities. But before we get carried away, let's go back to the Stanford study and what it means for cancer.
Of course. One of the main things it tells us is that we might need to change how we think about nutrition. Dr. Snyder pointed out that a lot of people just aren't getting enough fiber. Eating more fiber could be one of the easiest and most effective ways to protect ourselves from cancer.
So it's not just about making small changes, it's about maybe completely changing how we eat. What would that even look like?
Well, it would mean eating more plants. Things like whole grains, beans, lentils, fruits, and vegetables. They have lots of fiber and all kinds of other good nutrients, too.
That sounds pretty good, actually. A healthy and delicious way to get more fiber. But, changing how you eat can be hard.
Oh.
What would you suggest for someone who's trying to add more fiber to their diet?
Well, don't try to change everything at once. Start slow.
Yeah.
Add a serving or two of those fiber-rich foods to your meals every day, and then slowly increase it over time.
That makes sense. What are some easy swaps people could make?
There are tons of ways to add more fiber without it being a big deal. Instead of white rice, try brown rice or quinoa. Instead of white bread, use whole grain bread. Throw some beans or lentils into your soups and stews. Snack on fruits and veggies instead of processed stuff.
So it's about making smarter choices and making those fiber-rich foods part of your day.
Exactly. And don't forget, variety is key. Try to mix it up with those fiber-rich foods. It's good for your gut microbiome, and it'll help your body make all those different SCFAs we talked about.
It's like we're taking care of a garden, but instead of plants, it's all those tiny little creatures in our gut.
Yeah, I like that. And just like a garden, our gut needs the right food to stay healthy and grow.
This has been a really interesting conversation. We've covered a lot, from how fiber affects our genes to personalized nutrition and new treatments. But I think it's important to come back to what this study was really about. The connection between fiber and preventing cancer.
You're right. This study really changes things. It shows us that something as simple as eating more fiber can make a big difference in our long-term health.
It's like sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. But what about people who already have cancer? Would eating more fiber still help them?
That's a good question, and we need more research to answer it for sure. Some studies suggest that eating a lot of fiber might help cancer patients who are getting treatment, but we need more research to be sure.
Yeah, more research would be great. What other questions does this study bring up?
One thing I wonder is how fiber works with other things in our diet. We know a healthy diet is all about balance, so we need to know how fiber fits in with everything else.
So it's not just about fiber as like a magic solution. It's about understanding how it works as part of a healthy lifestyle.
Exactly. I also wonder if it matters when we eat fiber. Like, is it better to eat it throughout the day, or does it matter if we eat most of it at certain meals?
It seems like we still have a lot to learn, but this study has definitely opened up a lot of new questions and exciting possibilities for more research.
Definitely. That's what makes science so cool, right? The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. But every new discovery gets us closer to understanding how to live a healthy and happy life.
Very well said. I think it's safe to say that after this deep dive, we'll both be thinking about fiber in a new way.
For sure. It's not just about regularity anymore. It's about giving our bodies what they need to fight disease, stay healthy, and thrive.
I like that. And I think that's a great place to wrap up our discussion for now.
That's a really interesting thought. What if we could, make a drug that does the same thing as SCFAs? Then you could get the benefits of fiber without having to eat, tons of it.
Yeah, like a supercharged fiber pill. That could be a game changer for people who have trouble getting enough fiber from food, or maybe people with, certain health conditions.
Right. We could even target specific genes or pathways involved in diseases. We could use these fiber mimics to make cells work the way they're supposed to.
That sounds pretty amazing. This research could lead to some totally new ways to prevent and treat diseases.
For sure. But it's not just about medicine. This research also shows how important it is to think about health in a holistic way. Our diet, the microbes in our gut, our overall well-being, it's all connected.
I'm curious, what kind of roadblocks do you think researchers might face when they try to put these findings into practice?
Well, one big challenge is just how complex the gut microbiome is. I mean, we're still learning about those trillions of tiny organisms living in there and how they affect our health. It's pretty complicated.
So it's not as simple as just saying eat more fiber. We need to know more about how different types of fiber interact with the different bacteria to make those specific SCFAs. And then we need to know how those SCFAs affect different genes and pathways throughout the body. It's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a big puzzle. But with every study, we're getting a little bit closer to figuring it all out.
And that's where this personalized nutrition idea comes in, I guess.
Exactly. What if we could analyze someone's gut microbiome and then create a custom plan just for them, telling them what kind of fiber they need and how much? It's an exciting possibility.
It does sound pretty futuristic.
Yeah.
But it's starting to feel more and more possible. What about fiber's other benefits, not just cancer? You mentioned heart health and diabetes before.
Right. There are so many studies that have shown that eating lots of fiber can lower cholesterol, which is one of the main things that leads to heart disease. Fiber also helps regulate blood sugar, and that's super important for people with type 2 diabetes.
Wow, so fiber really does a lot. It's like a superhero nutrient that fights all kinds of diseases.
That's a great way to put it. And we're still learning about all the good things it can do.
It really makes you wonder what else fiber can do. Could it be good for the brain, too?
You know, there's actually some research suggesting that might be true. Some studies show that certain SCFAs, the ones made from fiber, might protect the brain. That could mean a lower risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's.
That's incredible. It seems like we've only scratched the surface of what fiber can do for our health.
I think so too. This study has opened up a whole new area of research, and I can't wait to see what they find.
It feels like a whole new world is opening up. But let's come back to the Stanford study and what it means for preventing cancer for a minute.
Right. One of the key takeaways from this study is that, a lot of people are not eating enough fiber. Maybe we need to rethink our dietary guidelines. Dr. Snyder made that point pretty clearly. Increasing our fiber intake could be one of the simplest but most effective things we can do to protect ourselves from cancer.
So it's not just about tweaking our diet a little bit. It's about maybe a complete overhaul. What would that look like practically?
Well, we'd need to shift to a more plant-based diet. Lots of whole grains, beans, lentils, fruits, vegetables. Those are all good sources of fiber, plus they're packed with all sorts of other nutrients.
It sounds like a pretty tasty and healthy way to get more fiber. But, changing your eating habits can be tough. Any advice for people who want to add more fiber to their diet?
Start slow.
Yeah.
Don't go crazy trying to change everything overnight. Just add a serving or two of those high-fiber foods to your meals each day, and then gradually increase it as you get used to it.
Makes sense. What are some simple swaps people could make?
Oh, there are so many easy ways to sneak more fiber into your diet. Instead of white rice, you could try brown rice or quinoa. Instead of white bread, go for whole grain. Add some beans or lentils to your soups and stews. Snack on fruits and veggies instead of chips or cookies. There are lots of options.
So it's really about making conscious choices and finding ways to enjoy those fiber-rich foods.
Exactly. And remember what we said about variety. Try all sorts of different fiber-rich foods. It keeps things interesting for you, and it's good for those little guys in your gut.
It's like we're tending a garden, but instead of plants, we're nurturing the community of microbes in our gut.
I love that analogy. And just like a garden, the more diverse it is, the healthier and more resilient it will be.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've talked about so much, from how fiber affects our genes to personalized nutrition and new therapies. But I think we should circle back to the main point of this study, the connection between fiber and cancer prevention.
Absolutely. This study is a real game changer. It shows that something as simple as eating more fiber can have a huge impact on our long-term health.
It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions can be the most powerful. But what about people who already have cancer? Would eating more fiber help them too?
That's a really good question. And honestly, we need more research to be sure. Some studies have shown that a high-fiber diet might help cancer patients who are undergoing treatment, but we need more data to confirm that.
It definitely seems like an area that needs more research. What other questions does this study raise for you?
Well, one question that comes to mind is, how does fiber interact with other things in our diet? A healthy diet is all about balance, so we need to understand how fiber fits into the bigger picture.
So it's not just about fiber as a miracle cure. It's about how it works with all the other parts of a healthy lifestyle.
Right. Another thing I wonder about is timing. Does it matter when we eat our fiber? Like, is it better to spread it out throughout the day, or does it matter if we get most of it at certain meals? These are questions we still need to answer.
There's definitely a lot more to learn, but this study has definitely sparked a ton of new questions and possibilities for future research.
I agree. That's what's so exciting about science. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. But every new discovery brings us a little bit closer to understanding how to live healthy and fulfilling lives.
Well said. I think we can both agree that we'll be thinking about fiber in a whole new way after this deep dive.
Definitely. It's not just about regularity anymore. It's about giving our bodies the tools they need to fight disease, stay healthy, and really thrive.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, let's move on to our outro and leave our listeners with something to think about. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time unpacking this Stanford study and the connection between fiber and cancer prevention. What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I think the big takeaway is that fiber is so much more than just, keeping you regular. This research shows us that it actually plays a role in how our genes work. And that could be huge for preventing diseases. It really makes you think about how powerful food can be.
It's like we've been underestimating fiber this whole time. But it's not as simple as, just eating a ton of bran flakes every day, right?
No, definitely not. It's all about incorporating a variety of those fiber-rich foods into your diet. Things like beans, lentils, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, all of those are important. Think of it like building a diverse ecosystem in your gut.
I love that analogy. It's like we're tending a garden, but instead of flowers, we're cultivating healthy bacteria in our gut.
Exactly. And diversity is key, just like in a garden. A wider variety of fiber means a more diverse gut microbiome. And the more diverse your gut microbiome is, the better it'll be at producing those beneficial SCFAs.
And those SCFAs, they're the real stars here. They travel throughout your body and could be influencing all sorts of things, from cell growth to gene expression. It's amazing.
It really is. And remember, this study specifically looked at cancer prevention, but it makes you wonder, what other potential benefits could fiber have? We're still learning so much.
That's the question I keep coming back to. Could fiber play a role in things like brain function or immunity too?
There's definitely some evidence to support that idea. Some research suggests that fiber can actually help improve how our brains work and even give our immune systems a boost. But of course, more research is needed to really nail down those connections.
It seems like we've only just begun to understand the full potential of fiber. This study has really opened up a whole new world of possibilities, and I, for one, am excited to see what other discoveries are made.
Me too. This is a really exciting time to be researching the gut microbiome and its impact on our health. And if there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this, it's that they have a lot more control over their health than they might realize.
That's a great point. We're not just passive passengers. We can make choices that directly impact our well-being. Even simple things like adding more fiber to our diet can make a real difference.
Absolutely. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound.
So well said. Well, listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to think about how you can incorporate more of those powerful fiber-rich foods into your diet. Maybe it's adding an extra serving of veggies to your dinner plate, or swapping out that white bread for a slice of whole grain.
And don't forget to mix things up. Explore all those different fiber-rich foods and find what you enjoy.
You never know. You might just be the one to uncover fiber's next amazing health benefit. Until next time, keep your plates colorful and those guts happy.